Yeah, hi there, Bakar, and this is Michael from Stealth, the online Toefl course. And I'm looking at your email right now. So you say, I'm planning to take the Toefl IBT in 3 months. I used to be your student in the past. I know you have a long time experience of teaching Toefl, and I do. I have about 25 years. So here are my weaknesses where I'd like to hear some suggestions from you. All right, so number one, note taking. I'm a slow note taker. What are the best ways and resources? You want to say here, you're missing which, you need that adjective clause connector, which will help me to take efficient notes that I can use in listening, speaking, and writing parts of the test. Okay, so the best tip here is actually, believe it or not, vocabulary study. You must have a good vocabulary or you will not be able to take notes. Remember what you're doing in your notes. You're reading the passages and listening to the lectures, and then you're jotting down in note form summaries of this information. Or to summarize, you need to change the vocabulary. So you have to have knowledge of a lot of synonyms. So the most important thing here, I think, with note-taking is you need a good vocabulary base of about 1,500 to 2,000 words. So don't even start studying TOEFL until you feel you have good vocabulary, because you will just be spinning your wheels. Okay, number two. You need to develop, once you have adequate vocabulary and you're comfortable re-explaining information from reading and listening passages, you need to develop an abbreviated system of note-taking. So if you need some help on this, if you just go to Google, you can put note-taking symbols for college, how about note-taking symbols for college classes? So you can probably get some good ideas there. So you need to develop a system that can help you record the information from the reading and the listening passages. So one other recommendation here, in order to perform well on the reading, speaking, and writing sections of the test, you need to have a minimum reading speed of 300 words per minute. And I'll just give you one example why. During TOEFL integrated writing, you have a reading passage which is about 300 words or so. You have roughly 3 minutes to read that passage. So if you're reading at 300 words a minute, that means you can read the whole passage in 60 seconds. But remember, it's not just reading it. You need to read it and jot down the important information in those 3 minutes. Because after you hear the listening passage, you're going to get 20 minutes to write this task, and you're not going to have a lot of time once you're done with the listening passage to reread the passage. So you want to spend your time writing, not reading, when you're done with the listening passage. So having a reading speed of 300 words per minute, maybe with 60 to 80% comprehension, I think would be enough to help you get through the TOEFL exam and also get a pretty good score. So you have vocabulary of 1,500 to 2,000 words. You have a good reading speed of 300 words per minute or more. You are developing an abbreviated system of note-taking, and then you're practicing reading and listening to passages, and you're jotting down the most important information of those passages. My recommendation here to help you with your language use is, as you do your reading practice, you jot down the notes, and then you use your notes to write 150 to 250 word summaries. If you could do that maybe 2 or 3 times a week, that would definitely be very helpful for your language use. The next one, as you do your listening practice, you can also jot down the most important ideas and support points, get that down in note form, and then practice orally summarizing that information, right? So I think as you do vocabulary study, as you improve your reading speed, as you develop your abbreviated system of note-taking, and then you do practice, I think you can improve your note-taking skills so they become better. Your question is important because when you're listening to a listening passage, the speaker could be speaking up to 150 words a minute. But the best you will do in a minute with your note-taking is maybe 20 to 30 words. So you have to make sure you're getting down the right words. Okay, let's go to your question number 2. I have some problems of structures, formats, and how to speak and how to write my essays. Please advise me to overcome or master this problem. Okay, so the first thing is don't use templates. Magoosh has them. Toefl uses them. You'll see them all over the place on the internet. Don't use those templates because they're overused. The IBT human raters are going to recognize them, and it's not going to look natural if you use those templates. Okay, so let's take a look at speaking and writing essays. I think the main thing here, you have to understand the concept of a thesis and understand the concept of topic sentences. And then these thesis statements and topic sentences, they need to be framed from the speaking and the writing prompts. Right? So if you had a question, do you agree or disagree with the following statement, studying alone is better than studying in a group? Then if you're creating a thesis in the beginning there, you say, well, studying alone is better for me because I can get my homework done faster and I can score higher on my examinations. So that's a simple thesis. How hard is that? So you know that based on those 2 points become the most important part of that response. So you'll say, first of all, I prefer studying alone because I can get my homework and my assignments done faster. At that point, you give one example to illustrate that point. You say, second of all, I also like studying alone because I can score higher on my examinations. Then you give an example to support that idea, right? So make sure you understand thesis and topic sentences. If you don't understand this, go to Google. It's easy. What is a thesis statement? How about to further modify it, what is a thesis statement in academic writing? Or what is a topic sentence in academic writing? So you need to be able to use these thesis and topic sentences in both your speaking and your writing prompts, right? So that's kind of what you're doing there. Okay, so I think the structure and the format that you're organizing depends on the writing prompt. If the Toefl is asking you to compare two things, and then you state your opinion after that comparison, that's going to have a different organization than if it says, do you agree or disagree with the following statement? So the main point here, Bakar, is you have to look at the speaking or writing prompt and then use that as the basis for the structure or the format of that response. If it says, well, how is the listening passage information related to the information in the reading, and you're doing this in an integrated writing task, it makes sense that in the introduction, you'll see something like the reading passage discusses blah, 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 and then the speaker in the lecture casts doubt on each of those claims, right? So the introduction simply explains the main point of the reading and the listening passage and shows how they're different. Then once you move to the next paragraph, you talk about reading point 1 with listening point 1. When you go to the next paragraph, you talk about reading point 2 and listening point 2. When you're done with that, you go to the next paragraph, you talk about reading point 3 and listening point 3. And then maybe you have a conclusion after that. That's going to give you 5 basic paragraphs. Right? So I'll just repeat it again. Remember, instead of memorizing a certain structure or a certain format, here's my theory. If I give you fish, you have food for a day. If I teach you how to fish, you have food for the rest of your life, right? So I'm saying, instead of trying to memorize a certain structure or format, I'm saying that your job as a speaker or writer is to look at the actual speaking or writing prompt and then choose your format or structure so that it addresses that task, right? So you have to be pretty good at learning how to decode speaking and writing prompts. Okay, let's go to question number 3. You say, in an independent essay, you want to use here, I think, not and, but the determiner. In an independent essay or question number 2 of writing, my problem is to stay or focus on a question while I write my essay. In other words, my issue is to keep connection between my examples and the details that I give. Right? So if you have a thesis, a sharply focused thesis, and I'm not saying I have several reasons to support my point of view as a good thesis. It is not. Don't use that one for this independent writing task. You need a specific thesis that lays out 2 or 3 important points. Then you organize your body paragraphs around each of those points. That's it. And then each of those body paragraphs, my suggestion is to only use one detail and then spend 80 to 100 words elaborating on that detail. If you don't have any personal experience, then make it up. Imagine the information. Right? So I think that's going to be important for you too. So I think if you have a good thesis and you have arguable topic sentences in those body paragraphs and you're using one detail in each of those paragraphs, you should stay pretty focused. Right? So let's go to question number 4. You say, I missed time to edit my essays and my word counts, you want to change this to word, are not above the recommended ones from ETS. So task 1 is, I'm recommending even more than what ETS recommends because I've been coaching, as you know, students for about 10 years now online. And typically students who write more, as long as they're organized and they're addressing the writing prompt, they're going to score higher. So I'm recommending for the integrated task, Bakar, is 250 to 350 words. And then for task number 2 on writing, 350 to 450 words. Although I've had a lot of my students who write over 500 words and they score anywhere from 25 to 30 points. Now, they're not just scoring high because they're writing 500 words. They're scoring high because they're showing that they can develop an idea, they can organize it logically, coherently around just a few important points, and they provide relevant details for each of those ideas, and they also have a good command with the vocabulary and the grammar. So there's a lot of different factors involved, and you're getting a higher score on the writing, right? So I want you to make sure you understand that. Okay, so these are my specific answers to these 4 questions, right? So what do you do now is, if you're interested, if you tell me a little bit more about yourself, I know that you used to be one of my students in the past. If you can tell me the first thing, what is your current TOEFL score right now? And then what is the score you want to get 3 months from now? What I can do is I can recommend a specific personalized learning path that can help you reach your goals. All right, Bakar? And thank you for your questions.